So I wanted to talk about a quick little video. Well, I'm not sure if this is going to be like 5 minutes, 4 minutes, or maybe even like 15 minutes, but I just wanted to talk about what's next for Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev after the results of the UFC 313. And I've been thinking about it for a while now, and I think the obvious answer right now is actually immediate rematch. Now, I know what you're saying. Immediate rematch. Nobody wants to see immediate rematch. We see those like so often nowadays when it comes to champions. Like who was it that got an immediate rematch? Technically, Jamal Hill got an immediate rematch. I think technically Yuri Prohaska got an immediate rematch. But I understand. Immediate rematches are boring. Like I'm actually not even a fan of Volkanovski actually getting an immediate rematch. Now I get it because it's obvious he's like the second best fighter in the division. Right now, I actually think Lopez is going to beat him in the what is it UFC 314? I think at Miami. Yeah, I actually think Lopez is going to beat him. The reason I say I wasn't a fan though of Volkanovski getting a rematch is because I was when Topuria was still champ. Now Topuria vacated the title, so that's a different case scenario. But you know, Pereira deserves it, man. Pereira defended the title 3 times, very active champion. He did that shit all within like the span of a year, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. Less than a year, like 11 months in like 1 day or 11 months in 6 days, something like that. And it's insane. And if you actually go like, I think 14 months, technically that's 4 fights in 14 months, which is just really crazy if you think about it. Imagine averaging like, wow, 4 fights or like 4 fights every 3 months. It's insane, really. So I think the only answer, really, and if this was Volkanovski, then I would say no, because he lost twice in a row. But there's literally nobody else at light heavyweight that makes sense for Magomed and Goliath. That it's just the only answer really you have is an immediate rematch for Alex Pereira. And I know some people are going to be saying, "Oh, what about Yuri Prohaska? Yuri Prohaska right now, he's on a tear. Like not really a tear, but he just won against Jamal Hill, knocked his ass out in the third round, which is an amazing fight. And Yuri's got that like." Man, he's the second hardest hitter, I think, at light heavyweight. I still think Pereira's the hardest hitter, but it seems like, Pereira was kind of like starstruck and tentative. Here's the thing. When it comes to the match, I think Pereira had a bad outing, but I also think Ankalaev was so good that, he was the reason why Pereira had a bad outing. And I don't even know if I would actually pick Pereira in a rematch. I think right now, if we do have a rematch, I might just pick Ankalaev. Because, age is starting to get to Pereira. Pereira's not a young spring chicken anymore at 37 years old. And I know Old Man Glover won the title at like 41 years old, 40 years old. But you have to remember, Pereira just has so many miles on his body from previously having a kickboxing career. And, all those like that activity in the UFC is pretty crazy, man. Like those fights, they take years off your life, man. Even if you're not taking that much damage, if you have like 3 fights in 1 year, especially fighting like champion level competitors, you're taking some life off your career, man. And it takes a toll. It really does take a toll on your body. And one of the reasons we know this too is because Pereira was sick actually during the Khalil Roundtree fight. And not that many people know about it because not that many people did their research, but it came out that Pereira was actually sick during the fight, which just tells you how good Pereira can be if he's still fighting that good when he's sick. But then again, we saw the results with Ankalaev. Now, here's the thing. Do I actually think the result is going to be like a big difference if we can actually get Magomed versus Pereira too? Yeah, I think we have the opportunity for that. I think there is a chance for that fight to actually go like a different way. And I do think that if Pereira actually has a serious training camp, because here's the thing, I was a little bit suspicious when Pereira just kept like doing like little media things and wasn't really taking the fight seriously. Like I think he only had like a 3 week training camp, which really isn't a lot. You should have had like a 2 month training camp or like a 6 weeks at least, month and a half. A month and a half or whatever. I know it's like a little bit less than a month and a half with 6 weeks, but let's just round it up to a month and a half. He should have at the minimum like 6 week training camp. I think 8 weeks is good. And it seems like Pereira was just taking it a little bit lightly. And Ramadan was happening during this fight too. And Magomed, even though he was fasting for the majority of it, actually not really the majority. When does Ramadan start and end? I just want to be sure. So we can put this like topic. When does Ramadan end and start? Give me a second here so I can get the results. All right, starts March 23. No, starts March 1, 2025, ends March 29, 2025. So he was fasting for about around 8 days or 7 days actually, because the fight was yesterday night. And by the time you're seeing this video, it's probably already going to be March 10. But he was fasting a little bit. and he kind of had to stop fasting. So it makes me wonder, how does Ankalaev do if he's not committed to fasting during Ramadan, and how does Pereira do if he's actually having a serious fight camp? See, these are like the, how do you say, the ifs, ands, and maybes that can change the trajectory of this next fight, the rematch. So that's really the fight that just needs to happen. Now, I can see the UFC saying, no, we don't want that fight. We want Yuri versus Ankalaev. Or, I can even see Jan saying, if Jan somehow beats Olberg, which I don't think he beats Carlos Olberg because I think Jan is just too old. But I think if Jan actually manages to beat Olberg, I can see him like just getting on the mic and saying, oh, I want to bring legendary Polish power against Ankalaev in the rematch. And, I think Jan loses that rematch because I just think he's too old. If somehow he miraculously beats Carlos Olberg, which, he might actually can beat him. Because I'm not really that impressed with Carlos Olberg, to be honest. He can actually maybe beat him, but I just don't think he can. Or I don't think he will. My bad, that's the word I wanted to say, will. I don't think he will beat him, but I know he can. But besides that, there's not really that many competitors. Well, who can Ankalaev beat that's actually like a top contender? And like the only fighter that I can think of is an immediate rematch with Pereira or Yuri. But does Yuri actually deserve a title shot after just getting one win? That's the thing. Yuri's had like repeat title shots after just one win. He lost to Alex. He gets one win. He fights Alex again. He gets one win, and then what? He's gonna fight Ankalaev again. That's a shit ton of title shots off of one win. But it also tells you how shit the light heavyweight division is that we keep getting title shots to one guy in particular. And it's funny. It's funny, man. It really is. But I don't know what you do next, man. I really do think they're gonna go with the immediate rematch, and I do think that what's next for Yuri? I think what's next for Yuri is probably Jan or Carlos Olberg, depending who wins. The winner of Jan versus Olberg is probably next for Yuri. But I can also see Yuri fighting the winner of I can't. I can see Yuri fighting Roundtree if Roundtree beats Jamal Hill. I was gonna say the winner of Jamal Hill versus Roundtree, but then I remember you can't really fight a guy 2 times in a row. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm like, because somehow Jamal Hill wins, then that's weird. I don't want to see Yuri fight Jamal Hill again immediately. That doesn't make any sense. Not even from like a title fight standpoint of view. So I think is gonna happen is if Roundtree actually beats Jamal Hill, then I think Yuri is gonna fight Roundtree. And if whatchamacall, if frickin' what's his face? I'm having a brain moment here, my bad. If frickin' Jamal Hill loses the fight against what's his face again? Roundtree, then I think you just have to set it up with Jan versus Olberg. And if Olberg wins, then you set it up with Yuri. Or if Jan wins, you set it up with Yuri. And Yuri versus Jan is a fight that a lot of people wanted to see. I myself wanted to see that fight because Yuri is just, he showed some improvement in his last fight against Jamal Hill. He was showing some head movement. He was showing some striking defense. And Yuri still has some of the heaviest hitting power in the UFC, in my opinion. And the second hardest hitter in the light heavyweight division, too. So I just think that he can put it all together. Right now, I think he's like the third best guy at light heavyweight. I still think it's between him, Alex, and now Magomed. But we need to see. Anyways, what I think is next for Alex Pereira is immediate rematch with Ankalaev, depending what happens then. Then you give the match to Yuri, because I think Yuri's probably going to be the next title contender if Yuri can just get one more win. Unless Alex Pereira wants to sit this one out, and he moves up to heavyweight. That's another thing. What if Alex Pereira just said, fuck it, I'm tired, I'm old, I don't want to continue competing at light heavyweight, I want to continue at heavyweight. And I can actually see him getting a couple good wins at heavyweight. I can see him maybe starting him off with like somewhere in the top 10, top 5. And you could just give him like, I don't know, maybe Almeida would be a nightmare matchup for Pereira now that I think about it. Yeah, that would be a nightmare matchup for Pereira. Maybe someone like Gon or Volkov. Even though I think Gon is just a little bit too fast for Pereira. I don't think Pereira is actually going to be able to like do good at heavyweight now that I think about it, just because of his last outing. But I do think he can beat some of the smaller guys. But anyone that's like maybe top 5, I do think he loses to someone like Pavlich, and I do think he's going to lose to Aspinall most likely. But, why not? Or what if the UFC just actually decides to give him an instant title shot at heavyweight, even though despite him being on a loss? That would be insane, wouldn't it? Can you just imagine like Jones retiring, you get Aspinall versus Pereira? Like, that would be amazing. I'm all for it, even though I know it makes 0 sense in the world. Anyways, I rambled on long enough. I stuttered way too many times during this video, and it took me way too long to think too of what I wanted to say. Probably because it's late. By the recording of this video, it's like 11 p.m. I know it's not that late, but it's late for me. So that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to talk about Alex Pereira and like what his next fights are gonna be. And I really do think his next fight is just gonna be a immediate rematch against Magomed Ankalaev. And after that, we'll see what happens with the light heavyweight division. But right now, it's in a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess, and the heavyweight division too is in a bit of a mess now because now Jones doesn't have a bargaining chip to fight Pereira. So he's left to fight Aspinall most likely. So it's either retire or fight Aspinall. And I think he's going to retire because Jones, he's not that guy, you know? He's just not that guy at heavyweight. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one.